Hey everyone, welcome back to the shop. I hope you all are having a really great night. I apologize for my hair. This is fresh out of the pool, sort of the Iceman look. Uh, Rest in peace, Val Kilmer. Um, Tonight I wanted to go over something, not really working on any of the cars. Most of the stuff I've been doing the last couple of days has been with the cars, the race cars in Ohio, trying to get those set for the upcoming race. And um, so one of the things I thought about was uh, just introducing people to the costs involved in doing something even as cheap as racing a $500 car. And it sounds very enticing and it sounds very simple. And do not get me wrong, it is an absolute pant load of fun. If you are not having fun at the track racing, even just at a regular track day, then just go home, take up stained glass, learn crochet, whatever, because there's nothing that can help you. It is an absolute blast. By the way, I apologize if you guys hear the wind. I have the garage door open because it's really nice out, but that storm system that's moving through the middle of the country and 500 miles of tornado watches, this is the tail end of it, and it's kind of blowing through tonight. So I apologize for the wind noise. And by the way, everyone, Indiana, Arkansas, Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio, please, everyone stay safe. It's very nasty weather out tonight and tomorrow. Watch out for flooding the next couple of days. There's going to be a ton of rain, so please be careful out there. Because that's where some of my favorite tracks are. You have Ozark International Raceway, you have NCM, you have Mid Ohio, you have Pit Race, all these awesome tracks. Autobahn is there. They had a huge tornado touchdown just north of Indianapolis. I mean, yeah, it's pretty serious. So everyone, please be safe and definitely check the weather. Take a look at the weather app on your phone and see what's up. Need y'all at the track is the trick. So I wanted to go over the costs involved, and I brought my handy little portable whiteboard and some markers just to go over some actual numbers with you guys. Just so this isn't meant to discourage you. This is meant to inform you. And I don't know. It's meant to motivate. But what I don't want people to do is think, oh, well, like Lemons, for example, I'll get a $500 car and go racing. It's kind of like that. That's true, but it's not really like that. So I just wanted to bring some reality into it and let you know ahead of time. I don't want you to go and buy a $500 car and then realize this is really bad, and then you hate racing and cars and everything else. So I'll give it to you up front. You can go from there and decide what you want to do, how you want to finance it, how you want to actually don't finance fun. That's one of my money tips. You can have that one. Take it anywhere. Don't finance fun. It will be bad. And it doesn't matter if it's a $500 Fiero or a $10 million Bugatti. Don't finance fun. You're gonna get burned. So I figured we'd just start at the top with the car and then work our way down. And I'm going to use real life examples. I'm going to use my stuff just for real life examples. I'll give you a quick story that doesn't relate to Lemons. This relates to semi-pro racing. But one weekend, this is a few years ago, my friend Nolan, who's a fantastic driver, he and I went to VIR for a NASA event, and we were racing all weekend. And I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do just to, remind myself how much it costs to go racing. From when I left the driveway to when I returned in the driveway, I'm going to keep every receipt and just total it all up when we get back. We went down to VIR. We had an awesome time. I mean, $1.50 on the back straight at VIR is so much fun. $1.60 is even more fun. We met a ton of great people that we didn't know because they weren't from our normal NASA region, and awesome friendships, really cool people. We learned some tricks about our cars, and we taught some tricks about their cars. So worked both ways. But I kept all the receipts, and this is for everything. This is for gas, hotel, fuel for the car. The Neon takes 110 or 104, so that's $10 a gallon. At the time it was 10. I think it's $13 a gallon now. And I mean, all this stuff is very, very expensive, and it adds up. And that whole weekend, from driveway to driveway, was $2,500. It was like 2546 or something. We got second place. Came home with a little plaque, and Nolan and I agreed all the trophies stay with the car, not with the drivers. So that trophy is still with the car. It'll go with the car whenever that car gets sold. But we got second place. We came back home. It was about $2,500. It was like 2540 something. That was 2.5 days. So that was Friday night. We drove down, raced on Saturday, raced on Sunday, drove back Sunday night. That was 2.5 days. So that's 2 hotels. It's all the gas down there, all the food, the restaurants we went to. And we didn't eat at like Hyde Park. We ate at like, Applebee's or even like Waffle House and Taco Bell and stuff. We didn't spend a ton of money on. We didn't stay at the Intercontinental. We stayed at I want to say it was a Super 8, but I think it was nicer. I think it was like a Country Inn and Suites where we stayed in Danville. But it adds up. It definitely adds up really, really quick. And even with Nolan covering his share and me doing the rest, it adds up. So I want to go over some numbers with regards to Lemons. Now, Lemons is in fact one of the cheapest ways to get into actual racing. You were going wheel to wheel. You're trying to get in front of the person in front of you, trying to get more laps than them. Now it's a little different because you're trying to get more laps than actually being in front of them, which could technically be the same thing. It doesn't matter. Most laps wins. It's an endurance race. It's usually 10 hours on Saturday and 8 hours on Sunday. Sometimes it's a little different, but it's an endurance race, and you have to build a car for that. It's not a 2-hour sprint or a 3-hour NASCAR race. It's not like that. It's a long race, and stuff breaks, and you run out of gas, and electrical issues, and all of this. So Lemons is definitely one of the cheapest forms of actual racing, where you're going wheel to wheel with a competitor, full roll cage, fire suit, suppression, penalties, all that stuff. What you actually see when you watch racing on television, NASCAR or F1 or whatever, same kind of thing, just very different cars. The cost of the car. Now with Lemons, they say it's $500. That's what you can spend on the car. You provide them with a title. It shows the price. That's it. Now you can spend more than that, and there's penalties. You will get penalty laps if you bought $1,000 car and it's a little too nice. You might get 10 penalty laps or 20 or 50 or whatever. The most penalty laps they've ever issued, I think, was 8 billion, and obviously that guy never came anywhere close to that. And so you can buy a car that's more expensive, a $3,000 or $5,000 car. Now here, to counteract those penalty laps, you can actually bribe the judges, and the bribes are usually pretty fun. There's the standard alcohol is always, booze is a regular thing that gets used, but they have this weird fetish with SpaghettiOs in a grocery bag. I have no clue where that came from, but for some reason, that's a really good bribe. And then if you check the online stuff, all the social media, guys post suggestions for bribes. Like there was like a 3-foot bust of Elvis. And, these are like potential bribes. And there's a lot of sexual reference stuff. And these are potential bribes that you can bribe the judges and say, I know it's more than $500, but we brought this for you. And it's, I don't know, a 4-foot Pez dispenser, Jurassic Park Pez dispenser. Who knows? But they do, fun stuff like that. Oh, I got comments popping up here. Oh, hey, Liz. Message got deleted. Okay. Let's not forget sponsorships, also a good idea. But I don't have any sponsors. I am my sponsor. There's so much pollen down here. It's just blowing in my nose. So, bribes with bacon. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff you can do with bribes to get you past them being upset that you spent more than $1,000 or more than $500 on a car. They're getting a little bit more relaxed because when they started this years and years and years ago, a $500 halfway decent car was possible. With things progressing, inflation, COVID, Miata prices going through the roof. C8 guys, Corvette guys, all have one of ones. They aren't helping things either. So now you usually are starting with a $2,000 car, $1,000 car, or $2,000 car. The car we started with was free. $0. It was at Craig's house. It had been sitting in his backyard behind it. Not his, well, I guess it's kind of like a backyard. It's beside his shop, and which is in the back of his house. It's a weird setup. Anyway, it had trees growing through it. I mean, he's like, yeah, just take it out of here. And I was like, okay. So I got the truck and trailer, and Craig got me loaded up on the truck, and we took it. And that was the start of this whole endeavor. Free car, $0. That car turned into, we needed another car because the frame on that car was not going to hold us. So I had to buy another car. And I bought another car, same thing, but different year, for $151. Now, according to Lemon's rules, if you use OEM parts, there's no penalties. But if you use aftermarket parts for like a cold air intake or an exhaust or whatever, you get penalized. Those go against your $500. So I used all OEM parts from Toyota to build this MR2. And I tried to get the best stuff, obviously, and use, something from a different Toyota that worked on our car that was a little more robust or stronger or whatever. So I tried to keep it all Toyota. And that way I wouldn't get penalized. Even though it was brand new, I wouldn't get penalized for penalty laps. And we did that for a couple of years with the 4AGE engine. And then we ate through two of those, and I'm done. Now I go to the 1MZ. And if you're in Lemons, whenever, what the hell? Is that a bug? Whenever you're in Lemons and someone says Toyota 1MZ, you're supposed to say no shit. That's just the reply. No shit. So you'll hear that on the wrap-up videos. So we put a 1MZ in there. We stayed with Toyota, but we did get penalty laps. Now, the cool part was the first time we debuted the 1MZ in the MR6, we have Ralph Shields with us. So we got penalty laps for, actually, we didn't get we got bumped one class. We went from class B to class A, but we didn't get penalty laps because we brought Ralph Shields with us, which was very cool of Lemons to do. Unfortunately, we killed both axles, all of our axles that weekend in the first 5 hours, 6 hours. So yeah, but that's okay because now we're in class A. We don't have penalty laps. They know the car. That's how it works. So we'll just go through the car. I'll do the whiteboard now. This is going to hurt you guys. I don't want everyone to get discouraged. I just want everyone to have the information so that when they say, yeah, let's go racing, they know what they're getting into. Let me set this down. What am I reading here? Oh, bribe wrong. Okay. So I got 2 colored markers. So we'll just do whiteboard stuff. And so I'm just going to do Lemons, $. And I write slow. So tough. All right. So the car. Now I'm going to put, I'm not going to do $sign for everything because I'll be writing $600 signs. So cars, $151. I'm going to put an asterisk next to that because that's what Lemons, according to Lemons rules, it's $151. Now, in reality, we need a better spot for these pens. The car is over $24,000. So that's reality, $24,000. That does not include a minute of labor. Now, on the MR6, we've had probably 50 or 60 people. It was a group build, and we decided that at the very beginning it was going to be a group build. We were also going to build it so we could race another series, like SVRA. We could race in NASA, in ST6. We could race in SCCA, in T. We would be in T3, I think, either T2 or T3. And then HSR, we could race in a bunch of different series, and that's why we built the car. Whoa, we had a big group of people. It was, it was going to work out really, really well, and that's why we kept going on this. But that does not include $24,000. Does not include a minute of labor. Where did that $24,000 go? Okay, so I'm just going to do just simple stuff. So the roll cage, which is, everything here is required just to get on track. There's no options, extras, anything bonus. Although I did get a really, really nice cage in the car, and that was $3,500. And that took about 6 weeks to get. Roll cage guy who's in Akron, Ohio, does a great job. The fire suppression, which is another part of the required safety, is $2,000. Actually, I think our system was like $1,500. I'm just going to put $1,500 on here. So $1,500 for the fire suppression system. Now we can go through the engines, but the engines are about $1,000 each for the rebuild kit. And that's just to get a 4A GE and rebuild it. So I'm just going to put engines. I'm just going to put $4,000 in there. And that's going to be our 4 engines that we've had in the car. We have a 5th engine, which cost me another about $800. Thankfully, it didn't need to get rebuilt. But I'm not going to include that because that's part of our spares. I'm not including anything from spares. So we're now at, what are we at, 5,000, 9,000? Seats were $1,000. Harnesses were, I think they were $600. We'll just put down $500. We're just going to do simple numbers. We haven't gotten to any, we're not in tires or suspension or anything yet. So let's see, 5, 9, 10, a little over 10,500. I'm going from the receipts in my head. If I had my red book here, the red book has everything on the car. Let's just do tires. Those were $2,000. Wheels were also $2,000. I mean, this is how quickly it adds up. This is just the car. God, what else do we have in there? We had body panels. I don't know if I really want to include that. 10, 5, $14,500. There's a ton of other stuff I'm not including in here. What else am I missing? I know I'm missing something else. Obviously, because I'm short about 9 grand. But this is so I'm just going to put other, and we'll just say $8,000. So, whoops, 8,000. So that's where we're at. Now, this, according to Lemon's rules, is still $151. So when they look at the car, they're going to be like, okay, it's $151. We still have a Toyota engine, but we've had to do all of the safety equipment. Now, the safety equipment, oh shit, you know what I forgot was the other two cars. I bought I bought one other MR2, and that was $500. Yeah, I mean the new shocks were about $200, $300. A lot of paint, probably $100 in paint. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. We're only at the car, and we're at $24,500. We haven't driven it a single mile. So, the steering wheel release was like $200. The steering wheel, thankfully, was a gift from Craig Reed. It's like $400 or $500 nice Momo steering wheel, so we won't count that. The hub, the adapter hub for the quick release was like $80. Again, there's a lot of nickel and dime stuff that adds up, but trust me, it comes out to about $24,000. Now I have a Toyota MR2 with a 240 horsepower 1MZ engine in it. The hours that were put into the car, I can't even calculate. There was no way I would be able to calculate that. Thousands. And even if you do $100 an hour, which is about half of a going rate for a mechanic at a dealership, that's over $100,000. Easily $100,000 in labor into this car from everyone that's contributed. Those that are still racing with us, those are no longer racing with us. Incredible amount of labor put into this car. The engine mounts that Chris and Joey and another person did, the amount of time that those guys spent just doing those engine mounts is probably $2,000. And that's just to line the engine up and get it where we need it. These guys, they didn't charge me anything. Not a dime. They had a great time doing it. And we all did too. And we're all eternally grateful. We had the accident at pit race, and the engine mounts were the strongest part of the damn car. So Chris and Joey did a great job on that. And so I can't put a price tag on that. There's no way. It would take me forever to calculate that. Labor well over 100 grand. Okay, so we have our $500 car, which is actually over $20,000. We haven't driven it a single mile on track yet. We haven't made a single turn. We haven't even started the engine. I remember I did pour 15 on the gas tank. I got a spare gas tank, new fuel sender. I mean, all this stuff is, pour 15 is like $40. And then the fuel sender unit was like $50. The tech in the car is incredible, and that's probably another $2,000 for the tech. So all of this $8,000 adds up. Yeah, it does. Also, the wiring in the car's wired OBD2. It's a 1987. Nobody's done that. I promise. You can search YouTube all you want. No one else has made an OBD1 card OBD2 compliant. You're not going to find it. Everyone will go standalone. They'll go a Haltech or Mega Squirt or Holley or whatever. No one will do that. We're the only ding dongs that did it. It was not easy. So next up, let's go racing, right? Well, we need gear, right? We need safety gear. So, oh, there's messages. These messages just kind of pop up randomly. Decals, cameras, spare parts. Yeah. This doesn't include very many spare parts. The extra wheels and tires, and like I said, I didn't include the spare engine. Yeah, it doesn't include many spare stuff. Most of the stuff is in here. So gear. This will be pretty easy. Now, what's really nice is if you're just starting out, if this is your first foray into racing, Lemons has like pre-built packages so that you can pass tech. So they have helmet, suit, gloves, shoes, socks, underwear. And they have 3 different levels of kits. They have good, better, best. I forgot their scale is different. Like okay, better than okay, super duper, whatever it is. And it's like, I think it was with the helmet and everything, it was like 800, 1,000, and 1,500. I think that's what you can check the Lemons website, but they have 3 packages. And then they have different packages without the helmet. So if you already have your own helmet, you can just get, the suit, gloves, shoes, socks, underwear as a package. And those are a little cheaper. Those are like 400, 600, and 1,000, something like that, 800. So let's just say you need everything. We'll do that. Get you a helmet, suit, everything to go racing. And we'll do the middle one. So we'll do the $1,000 one, right? So, and that's for the package. That includes a helmet, and the helmet will be good for years and years and years. That includes shoes, everything else. Literally dress, get in the car, going ready to race. Awesome. So there's another $1,000. Remember, we already spent $20,000+ on the car. There's another 1,000. Now let's go register the car. All right. So for racing. Now the good part about Lemons is it is relatively inexpensive compared to other series. Probably the most expensive series that I've ever raced in was SVRA, but it's very well maintained. It's very professional. There are very few ship boxes out there. Lemons they start off with 100 ship boxes and you end up with like 30. So yeah, SVRA is very expensive. But it's very nice. And the people are super cool, and it's a lot of fun. And Lemons has all these series have great, cool people, so you don't have to worry about that part. NASA is very basic, very business-like. SCCA is the same way. Very basic, very business-like. There's no screwing around, no dildos on roofs or anything like that. Keep it up to snuff. So Lemons is actually fairly cheap, and it's about $1,900 per car. So we're going to say $1,900. Now that gets you 4 drivers. So you can split that 4 ways. So we'll just say $250 each, because that'll also cover your barbecue at lunch. All right. So that's $250 each. Actually, I'm not even going to do that because we haven't split up anything else yet. There's no reason to split this up. So you can divide that up. If you get the minimum in Lemons is 3 drivers because it is an endurance race. You can't actually. Maybe you can do it all by yourself. I don't think you can. I think you have to have 3 drivers minimum, or minimum of 2. Anyway, so there's $1,900. Again, we're not even at the track yet. So now we have to get to the track. If you're towing it with your own truck and trailer, that's cool. You already had that. Great. Let's just say $100 for gas. And let's say that's just, again, we're just getting to the track. Let's do $200 because that'll do gas there and back. So it's $200. Now your hotel, because you're going to do an overnight, at least one night. So if you want to, you can camp. They usually have camping at these events, and that's Okay, but let's plan on $100 a night for the hotel. You're going to need a minimum of 2 nights. So hotel, $200. And then you'll need food. We'll include drink in there too, depending on what you're doing. So let's say that's another $200. Stuff's not terribly expensive at the track. It's not like going to an NFL game or anything like that. But it is more expensive. If you bring your own food, highly recommended. Bring your own food and a grill. Really good way to go. So now we're at $3,400. $3,500, right? And I forgot my F for food. What else? Now we can go get on track. Oh, let's not forget gas for the race car. So race, gas. Let's do $200 there. That'll be throughout the weekend. You already have your tires. That was part of it. You already have your brake pads. That was also part of building the car. I can't imagine. We spend about $250 a race on brake pads. So that's every race. We'll move the pads, that'll become our spares, and then we'll throw out our old ones and then use new ones. So here we're at 3,700. $3,700. We haven't even turned a lap yet. So $3,700, and you get to go out on track. That is for one weekend, one person. You can divide up the race fees. So it'll still be right around $3,500. That's for the weekend. That's for one race. Now, you also have your $20,000 car. So that is racing, and that is per weekend. Now, imagine if you do 5 of those events, it's $15,000. And that's if you don't break anything. You don't have to replace any engines or suspension components. You don't get hit by someone, have to replace a rear. Steering works great, no electrical issues. That's if everything goes great. It's still $15,000 for 5 events. Some of that does get split up between the other drivers, which really helps out. The guys on my team are fantastic. Brian DePaul has figured out very quickly that it's better to just buy the part and take it off of, I'll subtract it from the race fee than it is for him to send me the race fee and then I send him $200 for brake pads or $100 for these bearings or whatever. It's easier for him to just buy it and then, yeah, because I'm the one who pays the race fee, so I have to collect from everyone. And Dakota's figuring it out too. So yeah, everyone is paid up except for I think Hammond and Taryn. Taryn was waiting on final cost until we registered, which is smart. And so that's for we'll say about $3,500 for the weekend, about $20,000 for the car, and this is to race a $500 car. Actually, sorry, we can't include the suit. We'll say $2,500 because the suit will last you 10 years. The helmet, hopefully, the helmet lasts you 10 years. So you can't really include that. We'll say it's about $2,500. If you do 5 events, I mean, it's going to add up. It's going to be 10 grand. This is what it costs to go racing. Now, what do you win? If you are the best of the best of the best at Lemons, you win $500 in nickels in a bag. They're not rolled or anything. They give it to you in a bag. That's if you're the most laps, you win at all $500. That's so you spent $2,500 and you're going to win $500. In NASA, there's different things called contingencies, and that's dependent on class, where you place in class. You might win a full set of brake pads. If you don't win it, the sponsors donate that stuff. So if you're second in class, you get brake pads. If you're first in class, you get a set of Hoosiers. whatever. There's contingencies for all of this, and you're gaining. They do this in lemons too. You're gaining points throughout the season so that your team or manufacturer or whatever can win at the end of the season. Lemons is a little less serious about it, but they're all in it. So that's kind of it. So your $500 car is actually about 20 plus grand, and then your weekend is going to be, and this is a very basic weekend. It'll be probably $2,000 to $2,500 for the weekend. So figure out, how much racing you want to do. The other fun part is I just bought another race car. So now I get to do all of this all over again. But I'm a little bit smarter about it now. And I'll do things a little bit different with the Monza than I did with the MR6. The Monza will stay in lemons. I don't have aspirations for it to race in other series. So we can keep the Monza very, very basic. We just need to make it very, very safe. Now, all that said, and all of this money laid out, I would not trade it for $1 billion. The people I've met, the fun I've had, the experiences that I've had, you cannot put a price on that. There's no billions of dollars that you can put on that to go out there and, starting the race with an E30 behind me, with a huge megaphone on top, blaring Euro techno, like 150 dB. Like I can hear it over my car and the other cars. I mean, that's funny as hell. Don't get me wrong, it's annoying as hell. And I wanted to get around him and get away from him as quickly as possible. And I did. But that stuff like that is fun. The people I've met there at Lemons events have been absolutely incredible. Same thing at NASA events and SCCA events and SVRA. I've met some very, very cool people at SVRA, very, very wealthy people at SVRA. But I wouldn't exchange any of that for any amount of money back. The experiences have been absolutely amazing. And to do all this stuff with my friends and those that are really, really into it is incredible. And those that back us up, like it's not even so much, you don't necessarily have to be a driver. Like my friend Brixie, man, the guy is he's just a grill master. And he would come to the track with us and he grills up these incredible burgers and breakfasts and all of this. And I can't put a price on that. I mean, the guy's an awesome cook, and he loves cars and he loves hanging out with us. And God, I won't get anywhere near that grill when Brixie's around. I mean, and then when we were Road Atlanta, not this past year, but the year before, we had, I don't remember, we needed a Toyota part. Brixie and Nick jumped in the rental Honda, drove like 40 minutes to the nearest Toyota dealership, picked up the part, jammed back so we could get the car back out on track. Those guys, we're doing 8 other things. Those guys, they took off and grabbed a part for us. That was so awesome. Actually, they go to AutoZone. They might have gone to AutoZone. I thought they went to a Toyota dealership. I can't remember it. I'll have to ask Nick again. But stuff like that, you can't put a price on it. And those guys doing this stuff, they're not racing. They're hanging out with us and they're backing us up and jamming out parts. And, Dakota's friend helping us out at Road Atlanta with seriously 1 bolt saved our weekend. And this guy, he works for Fox. They have a facility at Road Atlanta where they do a ton of their testing. And he was there super late at night. It was like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And we had one of the rear trailing arms, the bolt, the captive nut had started to spin. And he's like, hey, I have another one. I was like, awesome. And he ran over to the shop, and 15 minutes later, we still have that bolt in there, and we still have the Fox sticker on the side of the car because those guys, I mean, that was a weekend saver. So the experiences I've had have been absolutely incredible. There's no way I could put a dollar amount on that. You know, to me, $2,500 is cheap, absolutely cheap, and the intensity is fun too. And the stuff I do with my team is a little bit different than what other teams do. So I like to give people the experience of getting out on track and actually racing. So I usually have a rookie or someone who's very new to track stuff. So for this race, we have Taryn, who's never been on the track before. He's never done autocross. He's done a ton of dumb stuff on the street, but he's never done an autocross, a track day, anything like that. And he's going to put on a helmet and suit, Hans device. Oh shit, I forgot to put Hans on there. There's another $500 for your Hans device. Yeah, like I said, this stuff just adds up. So he's going to go out there, and it'll be his very, very first time on track. And you guys can watch that. It'll be here on Kev's Shop. We're going to stream live all weekend. So you guys can watch Taryn, you know, absolute total 100% rookie. And don't get me wrong, he's done a ton of studying. He's going to do the practice day on Friday, which is cool. He'll get a lay of the land and learn the track a little bit. So he's not completely blind, but it's fun when those guys, for me, seeing them absolutely terrified when they go into grid, and then when they come in from their session and they're giggling like idiots because they're so ecstatic about it. That, to me, it's worth, you know, all the tea in China. It's so gratifying to see that, and then to see after that, Terrence totally addicted. He will come racing with us anytime. He'll be like, when are we going racing next? When are we going? He's going to go build his own car. He's going to come race with it. Yeah. So it becomes this, you know, this perpetual motion machine. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And the other guys on the team are fantastic. They come back and race with us all the time. The Bryans, Dakota, these guys are great. They're super fast. Although Brian said I have the fastest MR2 at Pit Race, which I'll take it. I don't really care about records and stuff, but if I'm the quickest MR2 at Pit Race, I'll take it. Now, of course, I have to beat it, right? So, and he's going to try and beat it too, I know. But yeah, DePaul told me that last week, I think, and I was like, oh, wow, okay. I had no idea. I don't ever go for records. We go to have fun. If we place in the top 20, great. We want to be in the top 10, you know. So that's where we're going. We're going to get better at this. We'll get quicker. We have an extremely reliable car now, and we have a great team, and we have a ton of fun doing it. So like I said, I'm throwing these numbers out there for you guys, not to discourage you or to sway you or anything like that, but just to make sure that you know what's in front of you when you go to do this stuff. Oh, there's more messages popping up here. That is, oh, are you talking about the Eurobeat on the E30? Yeah. Yeah, there was a team paddock next to us at Road Atlanta this year, and I had not heard of this thing, but that was their whole theme was crab rave, or rave crab, or something with a crab at a rave, and I had not heard anything about it, but their costumes were wild. Their car was crazy. I think they had a DSM. I think they had a Eclipse or something. And the people thought it was cool. I'd never heard of it, so I didn't know about it. They were playing the music and song and all that stuff all weekend. It was very funny. Hey, Pete. Yeah, absolutely still going strong. I'll be in Ohio next week, and I'll basically be streaming the entire time that I'm going to be in Ohio, because I will be working on the MR6, I'll be working on the Monza, and I'll be working on the limo, because when we're racing at Pit Race, the limo is actually going to be driving down here to Florida. So I've got a bunch of cars to make sure I get 100%. I've got cars that I need to race and cars that I need to ship. So I'll be doing just a ton of streaming from the shop. It'll be all over the place. So don't freak out if you see a message that just says, you know, shop time, April 9th. You know, it won't have any kind of fancy title or anything super specific, and it'll just be like the laptop on a stand. You guys watching me fumble around in the Monza and whatever. So there'll be a ton of that coming up. Um, yeah, I'm very excited about it. Uh, like I said, I'm lucky to have guys local that are kicking ass with the car that are also very specific. I've got, Hammond, who's, you know, terrifying with the plasma cutter, but I've also got DePaw to temper that and make sure that everything is torqued to spec. So yeah, that's the fun part. Um, yeah. What else we've got? I was trying to think of something else. Miata is awesome, and I swear it is the perfect car for down here. I guess the only other thing I would do if it wasn't a Miata would be like a BMW Z4. Um, but I don't think I'm old enough to drive one of those. Maybe in another 10 years or so. But Miata is a fantastic car here. Absolutely love it. So very happy with that. Don't get me wrong, the Viper's fun as shit too. So yeah. What else? Won't have any other aside from the limo. We won't have any other cars coming down here. When the limo gets down here, we'll be doing a ton of work on that. That car needs to be up and running this summer, and I have the time down here now to do that. I don't have all my kick-ass tools, but I've got a lot of time. So we can make that thing really, really cool. Get it running. I don't need any super special tools for it. But yeah, we can get that thing 100% and start taking it around, which would be a lot of fun. What is my story? I have a shitload of stories. You'll have to be way more specific than that. My first time on Tail of the Dragon, the time I got shot in the face, when my brother stabbed me, my first wheelie on a motorcycle. We didn't know it was called drifting. We just called it going to school. I got a ton of them. I got what was it, a 78 GMC Jimmy, huge lift, like 8-inch suspension lift, 4-inch body lift, huge, like 38s, maybe 40s on it. And my buddy just absolutely backed it into, it was snowing and it was slippery. And he went ass first into a ditch and just pointed the thing at the sky. It was like the space shuttle. It was, yeah, I got that story too. Yeah, I got stories. I got stories that'll haunt you. They will absolutely sink your ship. But I got a ton of funny stuff, man. If you want it, I'll drop them here. Just, pick one. How did I get into cars? This will make you laugh. All right, so we're gonna take the way back machine. You guys will love this one. I don't know if I've talked about it before. Got to take care of the potential sponsor. So let's see. How old am I? I am in, I think, first or second grade. And we lived in West Yellowstone, Montana. No kidding. Used to live in West Yellowstone. I lived in Yellowstone before the Duttons were there. Anyway, my dad was working on building a huge ski area there called Hebgen Mountain. And there were a lot of environmental issues and grizzly bears and shit like that. And unfortunately, the ski area never got built until somewhere around 2000. Now it's called Yellowstone Club. But my dad didn't really have any part of that. But that's what my dad was trying to do back in the day. So I'm in first or second grade, and my dad has this big, it's like a 70, 71 F-250. It was bright yellow, regular cab, long bed, but it was the gnarly, like farmer model with, the knobby tires. It was the Montana model, the knobby tires, get out and lock your hubs, the worn hubs that you had to get out and they were manually locked. None of this push button shit. And then it had a shifter that was, I swear, 2.5 feet long. And my dad was only 5'6". So watching my dad shift this, it's like the semi guys in Canada that have the shifter like way up here. They go through 26 gears and shit. That's what my dad was like with this shifter in the truck. I didn't know it because I was only that tall too. So it had this big, huge dog leg, massive shifter. And my mom had a VW Bug. My parents didn't have a ton of money. So, and my dad had invested all of his savings towards, building this area and trying to find investors and all that stuff. So my parents were very, very humble and very, they were not flashy with their money. They were very frugal with their money. And my mom was a realtor. She was a realtor pretty much my entire life, or for my entire life, most of her life. So my mom was doing real estate. My dad was trying to develop the ski area, and he had an F-250. My mom had a VW Beetle, and my mom's Beetle was yellow too. So they kind of had matching cars. But my mom just had my brother and I. So, throwing us in the back of the Beetle, this is back when you could throw children, throwing children in the back of a VW Beetle, no car seat, no seat belt, none of that. Hey, we're fine. We lived. Taking us to, she never took us to school. We took the bus. And yes, we had to walk uphill both ways. It was West Yellowstone, so you can figure out how insanely cold it was all the time. Anyway, I did stick my tongue to a reflector at the top of the road and pulled it off and ripped my tongue off. So yeah. Anyway, my mom would throw us around in the car, and we didn't think anything of it at the time. Now there's no way you could do that. You'd have 5 state troopers pull you over and cuff you and throw you in the back of the car. You can't do that shit. So anyway, I got in trouble, and I don't remember why I got in trouble, but I had been grounded. And let me back up. I got to go to Christmas. So it was Christmas, and my dad, as part of the funding and stuff, he had a Thiokol. He had a Snowcat, which had a cabin in the back, and you could get like 8 or 10 people in it. And it's the thing with the treads that goes through the snow, and they're very simple to drive. It's a hydraulic drive. You have a handle for left and a handle for right, and in order to turn it, it's a 0-turn mower, but it's big. And I don't remember. I believe it had a Cat diesel engine in it. Anyway, so my dad had one of those, and he had a powder cat operation where he would take people up these, forest, like national forest areas where you could do that. And then they'd ski down, he'd pick them up at the bottom and take them up again. And my brother and I would go out with him all the time when we weren't in school, holidays and all that stuff. And the snow in West Yellowstone was incredible, and when you're 6 or 7 years old, you can sink right down and come right back up. You can disappear. So my dad had a toolkit, because he maintained the Thiokol, the Snowcat, all the time. There wasn't really anybody else to come out and do it. My dad had to learn how to do all that. And he had gotten a new socket set. So for Christmas, he knew that I liked tools, and he knew that I always had to have something in my hand, a Rockstar, a phone, whatever. There's a lot of old film of me with just like a stick. I always had to have something in my hand. So he gave me his old socket set, and it was a really small socket set. It was a Craftsman, and it was in a red metallic case with a single latch, and it had like 12 sockets, 2 extensions, and a ratchet. It was super basic. And I wish I still had it. I don't know what happened to that. My dad did something with it, I'm sure. Anyway, he gave me that socket set, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to make my own toolbox, and this is going to be great. And Fast forward a few months later, I'd gotten in trouble and I gotten grounded, and my mom was upstairs working, and our house was kind of weird. It was a modular home. It was brought in two pieces on the back of a truck, but the foundation was like poured. It was a poured concrete foundation. So there was a basement. There was a basement with a garage, and it was a single car garage with a basement, and then the two pieces of the house went on top of that. So you had like this like stairway that went up from the garage. And anyway, so my mom parked the VW in the garage, and I was grounded, and I couldn't go see. I had a friend named Shiloh, and I couldn't see Shiloh, and my brother was out. We lived by Hebgen Lake, and my brother was out with his friends, whatever. So being, you know, rebellious and all, I went downstairs, and there's my mom's car, and oh, there's a big wolf spider right there. You can get out of here, Bucko. Leave. Vámonos. Vamos y let's go. So I had gotten grounded, and oh, I remember why I got grounded. This is where it goes back. Okay, sorry. I'd gotten grounded because my dad had given me that toolkit. And one day I was bored. My mom was upstairs working, and my parents were workaholics big time. And I went down to the garage and I started finding all of the bolts that fit my new socket set that were on my mom's car. And whatever fit came off. And I got to the point before my mom found me that I had the cylinder heads off of my mom's VW Bug, and oils everywhere. And, it was a huge mess. And so that's what I got grounded for. And I was naturally mechanical. I took this stuff apart. It never occurred to me to put it back together or make sure everything was okay or keep track of bolts or measurements or anything like that. Torque spec, I couldn't even spell that when I was 7 years old. So um, I took the whole like I was more impressed with myself. I wish my parents were more impressed, but they were not. They were really pissed. And I got grounded for that. And I was stuck in the house. So I went downstairs and I had a permanent marker. And this was the old school. This wasn't the nice Sharpie. This was like, it's probably illegal now because it probably had some gnarly chemicals in it or whatever. And they can't make them anymore. I think it was Marks a Lot was the brand. Anyway, it was nasty. It smelled hardcore. And I'm sure it's just like MEK or toluene or something, some kind of gnarly chemical that's now outlawed. And I grabbed the marker, and I'm 7, so I'm only like this tall. And I held it up against my hip, and I walked around my mom's VW Bug about a dozen times with this marker. And I just walked around it and pinstriped my mom's VW Bug. That's how I got into cars. Taking my mom's VW Bug apart and getting grounded for that. That's my first like serious mechanical memory that I have. And watching my dad, I guess, drive his truck is probably my first driving reference. My dad was Austrian. He's a little Austrian guy. So he sounds like Arnold. He's like, come on, get out of here. Let's go do this. Come on, hurry up. Bullshit. Yeah. So my little Austrian dad and this big, huge, this is full dent side F100 Ford F200, whatever it was in the 70s. And this big, huge truck with these big, huge tractor tires on it. And him getting stuck and being pissed off that he had to get out and lock the hubs and making me go lock the passenger side, and putting it in 4 low. And for a little kid like me, when I was 6, my dad said, hey, put it in 4 low. That was like a huge thing. I got to shift the truck. Chunk. And you had to go over and down. And I want to say it was a Dana. I don't remember what was in there. I want to say it was I want to say it was a Dana 44. God, I can't remember. I'd have to look up like Denside Fords and see what came in those. But that was a big deal for me to be able to shift Dad's truck to get us unstuck. That was like super cool. So that was probably my first like driving, like thrill of driving, was doing the hardcore off-roading. And there weren't roads where my dad was going. There were Forest Service roads up to a certain point, and then they just kind of dissipated into a field or into the forest. And then my dad would just kind of go wherever. And I was like, okay. There was a big thing. I remember there was a big thing about a grizzly bear, and they had to relocate the grizzly bear, and they went up for like 3 or 4 days to tranquilize this grizzly bear and rehome it, on another side of the mountain or whatever. But those are my two first mechanical and driving like instances in my life. I'm sorry I got the stories kind of mixed up. Yeah. Yeah, my parents were not pleased, especially with the markers. Believe it or not, the markers pissed off my mom way more than taking the cylinder head off the VW. And I can understand, because it was a lot more work to get that off. It was I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a lot of really caustic shit out there that you could just buy at the grocery store. And uh, this was like a marker. I don't even remember what my parents used it for, but I just grabbed the marker. It was I had a green one, and then my brother saw it when he got home, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll do it too." And he had a red one, so you had green and red on this yellow VW, and my brother got in trouble for that too, but not like me, because my brother, of course, ratted me out, and he's like, "Well, Kevin did it first." Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, that's my first mechanical and drive, and they're all within. I would say they're within the same year or year and a half of each other. But that was another big thing for me. Actually, I'm trying to think now. I would have to ask, obviously with my parents gone, I would have to ask my brother, but I might have driven a Thiokol before I drove. I think a Thiokol was the first vehicle I ever drove. I think I would have to check with my brother. Um, Yeah, I'm pretty sure a Snowcat was the first vehicle I ever drove. Yeah, have to think about that one. Yeah, the marker one. Yeah, the markers, and I don't think they make that stuff anymore. I mean, that stuff was like in the paint. They didn't like, you don't buff that out. That was like sanded down and repainted. I mean, my mom was pissed. My dad was pissed. My dad was kind of pissed. My mom was really pissed. She really loved that VW Bug. She really did. Um, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, but sorry, I got the stories mixed up with the marker and taking the car apart. But that was probably, I'm pretty sure that was my first engine disassembly. Pretty sure. I'm 99% sure that was my first engine disassembly. My first engine rebuild was, let's see, I was just out of high school, so I was 17 or 18. And that was my first like complete rebuild, like take it apart, put it back together, every nut, bolt, ring, bearing, journal, everything. That was when I was 17 or 18. Later on down the line. Um, but yeah, God, it's funny. Just when you're a little kid, you don't know any different, right? So you just take stuff off and move it out of the way. You take a bolt out and you just set it to the side. Take another bolt out and set it to the side. I didn't have an organized or anything like that. I just kind of moved it out of the way so I get the rest of the stuff out. And I was laying under the VW like my dad laid under the truck when he worked on it, or when he worked on the Snowcat. I was doing what my dad was doing. So I was like, "What's Dad do under here?" "Oh, look, I have a tool now that can fit that." somehow at 6 or 7 years old, I had enough strength to get, I guess it doesn't take much to take like a VW engine. I don't, is anything over 80 foot-pounds of torque on a VW engine? I don't think so. I think it's all fairly light. Yeah. Yeah, that is an awful feeling when you put everything back together, turn the key and it starts, you rev it up, bring it to temp, and you turn it off and you look over and there's two bolts right there and you're like, damn it. What are those for? Everything's perfect. What did those two guys go to? That's an awful feeling, especially for someone like me who has brutal OCD. To look over there and on the bench see those two bolts, I'm like, what? No. I put everything back in. They all went, everything was torqued. I know it. What the hell are those guys for? And then, everyone, there's always the joke, well, I just made it better than the manufacturer did. And I just added some lightness because, we took the weight off. We're not using those two bolts. But no, that drives me nuts, man. and bolts. Whenever I look over there and I'm like, no, where do those guys go? Most of the time I'm lucky and it's something, just on the casing, it's a grounding bolt or a set screw for an axle shaft or, a carrier bearing or something. I'm like, oh yeah, I probably want that in. But yeah, it's a rough feeling, man. It is a rough feeling. Weight reduction. Yeah. Yep. Counts. It absolutely counts. It's amazing how weight reduction, how quickly you can do that. Like on the MR6, one of the things I took out was the sound deadening material. It all petrified. And it's that black rubbery stuff that's really hard. And they show you, dry ice and you just pop it and lift it off. I didn't even bother with that. I just took the needle scaler, then took it right out. It just breaks that shit up instantly. And then you can just pitch it. The needle scaler worked great. Definitely headphones and gloves, but takes care of it and no problem. So yeah, racing's not cheap though, man. There's nothing cheap about it. I've been doing it for a long time now. I wasn't expecting to do it, but once I got into the Viper stuff, I got into it a lot more. It became a pretty fierce addiction, which is, it's not a bad thing. It's just you have to temper it, you have to manage it. And I've been fortunate enough to go racing with really cool people. I've had really, really cool teams ask me to drive for them. I've had awesome folks that help me build awesome cars. So I've been very fortunate. There's a lot of people that, they get mixed up in crappy deals and all of this, and they're resentful and the car breaks all the time or whatever. I feel bad for those guys, but I'm incredibly grateful for what I can do with the race cars that I have and all the other cars I have and trucks and motorcycles and all that. So I just got new insurance on the motorcycles, which is a great thing. I think that's about it. I don't want people to go. The purpose of this was to make sure that people don't go in and get in over their head. I guess that's the biggest thing. Don't jump in the deep end. Just walk in from the shallow end. Maybe it's one of those cool pools. I was at this cool pool in Miami. It was literally 1 inch deep at one end. And then it was this super slow ramp that went to like 9 feet. But it was super gradual. It was really long and it was super gradual. And you could just slowly walk in. Do that with race car stuff. Get a Miata, get a Corvette, and go to autocross and do autocross stuff. You're not going to spend a ton of money. You can make a really nice autocross car for 10 grand, and that will be fun as hell. Now, given you're only doing 30 seconds, 60 seconds per run, but you get a ton of seat time and you get to learn how the car works and find out what's going to break and what doesn't. but you're not investing a ton of money. When you start doing racing like this, like SCCA and NASA and SVRA and Lemons and things like that, Champ Car, it gets expensive. You can spend a lot of money very quickly, not just on the car, but also on the racing. So even when you have the car set, then you're going to spend probably $2 to $3 grand a weekend just to do that, just to get it out there. And that doesn't mean you win anything or get anything back. So that's the trade-off. But again, you spend $3 grand and you can't put a price on the experience that you get while you're at the track. There's no dollar amount. Finishing that lap or getting past that E30 with that stupid speaker on it, you can't put a price on that stuff. Having the God, what the hell was it? It wasn't a Saturn Vue. What was the other Saturn? There was a Saturn sedan. It wasn't the Sky. It wasn't the Vue. There was another Saturn model. It was just the regular coupe or whatever. I came up turn 11 at pit race once during a Lemons race and watched this thing absolutely eject its entire cooling system right in front of me. And it was on like lap 3, maybe like lap 5. And you don't experience that anywhere else. That you get that at Lemons, that's for sure. A lot of the cars are held together with like zip ties and Bubblicious and Hope. So we built a little bit better car, a lot better car. What else you guys say? Fell out of the car addiction tree and hit every branch on the way down. Yep. Yeah. How do I afford it? Can I quote Car Bros on that and say, don't worry about it? No, I'm just kidding. By the way, if you haven't seen the Car Bros video, go check out Car Bros. They're here on YouTube. The guys are very funny. I got very lucky with my career, and with the business that I own allows me the time to do stuff like this and stuff like racing the Miata and taking my motorcycles to the beach and stuff like that. So I got very lucky with that. I did have absolutely normal jobs, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday. I had those after college. I worked full-time through college. My parents never bought me a car. Not one. I've owned, I can't count how many cars I've owned. They've never paid for a single car. And that was a very, very good lesson for me. They, if they had done that, I probably would not be where I'm at now, because it made me appreciate my vehicle, and the money that I spent buying that vehicle made me appreciate it a lot more. So now, don't get me wrong, they helped me out. They put me on their insurance for a year, or, I remember on my Neon, not on my Neon, this is pre-Neon, on my Dodge Shadow that I had in college. My dad, no, it was my mom for Christmas, got me the extended warranty on the Shadow from Dodge, which was really cool. So, the stereo breaks or, exhaust system rusts off or whatever, they replace it. And so they never purchased the car, but they would do, nice stuff like that. Or, oh, you need new tires. They'll get me tires for my birthday or whatever. It was always something like that, but it was never purchasing the car. If I wanted the car, I had to save up for it, or, go take out a loan or whatever. And that made me a lot more respectful of the cars. And that was huge. That's also, I transfer that over now to all of the stuff, even the stuff I do, like with the Miata, with the Viper, with racing. And I joked with Nolan about this when we were going racing. Why is Nolan 2 seconds faster than me at VIR? Because Nolan doesn't know how much a cylinder head costs. Nolan doesn't know how much a broken arm costs. I do. That's why he's faster. So I think the more you put into those vehicles, the more you realize, hey, I don't need to, you know, I don't need to break stuff as often. Now Nolan knows that I pay for everything on the car, so he doesn't have that worry, which is great. But sorry, back to your question. I had I worked just absolutely regular jobs, nothing fancy, nothing uh, overt, crazy. I worked in the television and film industry for a long time, and I worked with the television and film equipment. Um, I didn't do anything on camera until this millennia, and I did a whole bunch of stuff behind the scenes. And I did some freelance stuff, and that put fun money away. Um, but like I said, I really didn't get into racing until I got the Viper stuff. When I got the Viper stuff, I got so hooked at track days and HPDEs and autocross, and it went berserker from there. That really became my focus. Then I got out of the film and television industry when I'm an inventor, so I got very lucky with my first invention, and it's been very successful, and that's afforded me the time and money to do this stuff. And so it's a little different way to do it, but it it worked out, which is pretty cool. So it is a patience thing, and like I said at the top, don't finance fun. If you can't afford the Corvette, don't finance it. If you can't afford the Miata, don't finance it. Save, pay cash for it. You can finance your daily, no problem. Don't finance fun. You will get burned. You will absolutely get burned. Um, I can't count how many times I've seen people get absolutely burned doing that. But it's a patience thing. Definitely, like I said, the whole purpose of this, don't get in over your head. Do smaller things. Do like autocrosses, which are $50 or like $100, and that's for a whole day of autocross. Do track days. That's usually 300-400 bucks for the entire day. You get an instructor. You can go out and you can do a lot of really really good track time and really get to know your car without dumping a whole ton of money. Um, and then you can get more and more into racing. When you start building cars just for racing, it really does get expensive. If you bought a car that was all set up for racing, that's a great way to go. Less time you're going to put in. You're going to buy tires and you're going to buy brake pads, and you're going to spend a shit ton on fuel, a bunch of oil changes. Regular maintenance is a lot better than trying to build a car to do like we did with the MR6. It can run in a ton of series, but it costs us a lot to do that. So, but it's worth it. Absolutely worth it. There's a lot of patience involved, and it sucks when your friends are going out and they're like, "Hey, man, we're going to XYZ. You should come join us." And you're like, "No, I'm trying to save money for new coilovers for the car." That sucks to say that, but it's worth it when you're installing those coilovers and you're 2 seconds faster at autocross. Oh, my shoes just started slipping. There's comments. Yeah, it is. It's don't be afraid of hard work. And also don't be expecting things. Nobody gives you stuff. If they do, they want something in return, and you're probably not going to want to do that. Um, so don't be afraid to work hard. It's not that. It's not terrible, and especially today, hard work is a lot different today than what it was when I was in college. So when I was in college, I was going to school full time and working full time, and I was working graveyard shift at a TV station, KUBD La Primera, which is Channel 59, and it was Channel 59 in Denver. and I was working overnights there while I was going to school in Denver. So you work full time, you go to school full time, and then when you go to do regular work, don't be afraid to, don't punch out at 5:01. Punch out at, find something else to do for 5 minutes and punch out at 5:05. Here's why. Your boss is going to notice. When you start doing that regularly, when you're there 5 minutes early and you stay 5 or 10 minutes late, your boss is going to notice. And he's going to go, this guy punches out at 5:05. The other guy is punching out at 5:01. This guy punching out at 5:05 is worth more to the company. We're going to pay him more. It pays off in the long run. So that's more of the patience thing. And single digit interest, double digit ROI. There's my other financial advice. If you're gonna finance something, never ever go double digit interest. If that's the very minimum that they're offering, walk away. Do something different. ROI is return on investment. You always want double digit ROI, minimum of 10%. Absolutely bare minimum. So yeah. That's the financial advice. But as far as hard work, seriously, and it gets easier too when you're staying that extra 10 minutes. Now all of a sudden someone else is going to have a project. Hey man, can you stay for another hour and help us with this? Guess what? That gets noticed too. That builds up over time. And all of a sudden you become really valuable to the company and they're willing to pay you more. When you ask for a raise, they're like, yeah, no problem. All of that money goes into you can have a couple different funds. You can have the house fund, you can have the car fund, put it in savings, don't touch it. The hardest part is to see that money and not touch it. It's so hard. Trust me. I know how hard it is, but it pays off in the end because then you see this, awesome Miata and you're like, no, that thing's perfect. You go look at it, you drive it, comes with a hard top. It's the 1.8. He's already done the coils, extra set of wheels and tires. He wants 10 grand for it. I've got 10 grand in the bank, ready to go. And you're done. You got a Miata because you've saved up that 10 grand. You're not like, oh, I only have 8 grand. I only have 4. You can just go, hey man, here's 9 grand. And just, you can do money gun if you want. I got a money gun right here. By the way, get one of these for your shop. These are awesome. It just has fake $100 bills in it. And this is so terrible. It's actually red. I don't know if I can. Oh yeah, you can see it here in the battery pack. They just spray painted it silver. Get one of these for your shop. It's funny. Oh, I think the batteries are dead. Oh yeah. Or it might be too loaded. Maybe. Anyway, get a money gun for the shop. Because how do you solve car problems? Yeah, you just throw money at it. It's funny for videos and stuff like that. Luck is the shadow of hard work. That's a great line, man. I like that. Sometimes you do get lucky and someone will notice it right away when you're staying an extra 10 minutes or 20 minutes. They'll notice it right away. It might take a couple of years. They might not pick it up right away, or they've been too busy to notice it, or business has been not so good so they don't notice it. It is. Sometimes it does take luck. Yeah. The hardest part is being patient, and that is a huge thing. It's worth it. Maintain your credit score. That's so huge now. I didn't realize that when I was in college. I didn't really care about it. Credit score wasn't that big of a deal. But as time moved on, credit scores became way, way, way more important. Thankfully, my credit score is great now, but I didn't realize that at the beginning. And yeah, definitely maintain your credit score. And single-digit interest, double-digit ROI, and don't finance fun. And also, I'll give you another one, and this one is just kind of for people that are just building cars for fun. You're not going to go race it. You just want a really cool car. You go to Cars and Coffee, you go to Track Days, whatever. Every dollar that you put into that car is $3 further away from the fun car. So if you have a daily and, or let's just say you have the Miata. So you have the Miata, this is your daily. Every dollar that you put into the Miata to make it cool and fast and slick, you are $3 further away from your fun car. The first dollar is torched, done. You're never getting that back. Second dollar gets you back to even, gets you back to zero. That third dollar is now the dollar that goes into the fun car fund. So this applies to, kind of anything. Anything you put into your daily, don't mod the daily is another big mantra of mine. My daily, my Jeep in Ohio, I did one mod to it. I added tow hooks up front because I knew in the winter I'd be pulling people out. I didn't have any tow hooks in the back, so I had to use tow hooks in the front. I put tow hooks in the front. I've done nothing else. I didn't do floor mats. I didn't do cup holders, nothing else. I put 2 tow hooks in there. I had them powder coated. I think it was $200 in total because I think it was 150 for the tow hooks, and it was $50 for the powder coating. That's all I put into my daily. Aside from like gas, oil, brakes, and stuff. Don't mod the daily and take that money and put it in the fun car fund. Put it in the house fund. The house fund is crazy how quick that adds up. That's crazy how that adds up. But yeah, do those. And the other thing I would recommend, this is a tough one because I'm a car guy. Get a house before you get a fun car. Or sorry, get a house before you get a second car. That's a better way to put that. You can still have a fun daily. You can have a Miata, you can have a C5, FRC or whatever. But definitely get the house first. House first, kind of a fun car daily. Then once you get the house, then get the second car that's super badass. You're going to have a better tax break. You'll be able to write off all that home improvement stuff. You write off all of your interest on your mortgage payment. So you're going to get more money back, and it'll be a lot easier to put that money into savings for the fun car. So I would say get the house first. The house also is a mental thing. It's a huge thing to have that stability. You get a house, you don't need a 3-car garage like this. You just get a 1-car garage, even something with like an outdoor shed, just some place you can store your car, whether it's your daily or your fun car, just some place you can store it and claim it as yours. You go into your house. These are your rules. When you're in my house, you're under my rules. I did that to my dad with my first house. It was awesome. So yeah, that's the thing. You have a mental thing, and it helps keep you grounded. And don't freak out buying your first house. You're not going to live there forever. This is not, 1845. This is 2025. You're probably going to live there for 2 to 4 years, buy a new house, live there for 4 or 5 years, buy a new house. Don't freak out. You're not going to live there forever, but definitely get started on that. A house equity is a really good way to go. Be smart with money. So that's my advice, and that's how you get closer to race cars, and that's how you feel better about dumping $3,000 in a weekend. If you have your fun daily car and you're going to go track day, yeah, no problem. $400 for the weekend with PCA. Yeah, awesome. It doesn't, it doesn't freak you out. If you have it differently, then you're probably worried about something, cell phone bill or, apartment rent or whatever. Yeah. So definitely do the house thing first. It makes things, it's a mental thing that helps you build more stuff, build more fun stuff. Cars, jet skis, collecting decorative plates, whatever. It's just a good place to have. Yeah, Liz, you got that promotion at work earlier this year, late last year. So yeah, it does pay off. And if it doesn't pay off, there's a different company you can work for. So unless you're working at SpaceX, there's a different company you can work for. As far as I know, they're the only ones doing what they're doing. Um, NASA's about a decade behind SpaceX. So um, yeah, if they're not recognizing what you're doing, you can move on. There's nothing wrong with that. A friend of mine's had 3 jobs in the last 2 years because they weren't recognizing what he's doing. He's there kicking ass every day. And the first one was the gears did not mesh with the boss, and that was fine. Okay, move on. And then, yeah, they just didn't recognize him at all. And then the third one was the company had made a 90-day probationary period with an automatic raise, and they declined. They decided not to give him a raise, so he said bye. Now he's at a cool company, he's happy, and things are working out nice. But don't be afraid to, step forward. It's okay. Or I guess step to the side. So yeah, don't be afraid. That's the other part about buying a house is you're a lot less fearful. If you buy an apartment or a condo or something, it's different. When you buy a house, you're a lot less fearful of the rest of your life. That's just me. And again, if you can find one with a 2-car garage, makes building a fun car easier. But don't get these stupid cabinets. Like I bought this house and it came with these cabinets. These things are awful. I guess for someone who doesn't want to look at like bug spray and concrete cleaner, that's fine. But for someone who works on stuff and needs to see where tools and supplies are, they're awful. Absolutely awful. They suck up so much space. And there's a set like right behind you guys too. So there's that whole wall set there. I'd rather have a nice metal bench, but no. And then there's a whole set along this side of the garage too. Just awful. I don't know what to do with them. I don't know. They'll stay here for now. So that's about it. Thank you guys for hanging out tonight. I really appreciate it. Pete, hopefully we answered some of your questions and got you guys on track and going forward. If you do have any other questions, definitely post them in the comments or shoot me a message, whatever. If you don't want to do it publicly, you're welcome to shoot me a message. I'm happy to help out. Again, my advice is not law by any stretch. You take it and mix it in with all the other advice you get from really smart people and people you trust out there. I see so much advice on the internet and people saying this is how you should do things and this is how you should do things and this is how you should do things. And my God, no wonder there's so many jacked up people. Take everything, I don't want to say with a grain of salt, but definitely do your own research. And don't believe everything you hear. Yeah. And don't be afraid to use your heart and use your brain because, yeah, some of that shit is not good. They're not, I don't know how it works for them or they just don't care or whatever, but some people are giving out some really terrible advice. So definitely be careful with that. Oh, we got stuff popping up. Yeah, hey, you're welcome, Pete. I'm glad I could help. And like I said, leave comments, whatever. I'm happy to help you guys out. I apologize for not having a more definitive list on all the miscellaneous stuff, but hopefully you can figure it out on the costs on the car. The brake pads, the brake fluid. Brake fluid is $20 a pint. And We go through about 4 pints a season, probably 6 pints a season. So all that stuff adds up. There's consumables out the ass. So yeah, I'm sorry I didn't have a better, more detailed listing. If I do get one from the Red Book when I'm back in Ohio, I'll let you guys know. We'll do a revamped version of this, and I'll break down with actual dollars and cents. But you guys get the point. I think hopefully this is a good basic one for you. If you do have questions, comments about it, let me know. Like I said, I'll be back in Ohio next week, and we'll be doing this channel will basically be up all the time. So you guys, heads up, there's going to be a ton of stuff. And then we race on 12th and 13th. So we'll be live streaming all day, the 12th and 13th. So definitely subscribe and you'll get all the updates. We're just going to leave the stream running. And at the end of the day, we'll mark down the times for each driver so you can pick out each driver in the comments. And that worked really well for us at Road Atlanta. So we're going to do that again here at Pit Race. And I guess that's about it. If there's something you want to see, something you don't want to see, that was the other thing I haven't asked people, but it's the converse. If there's something you are tired of seeing on here, let me know. But if there's something different you want to see, different car, different truck, whatever, let me know. Down here in Florida, I'm still meeting people and figuring out who has cool rides and who has boomer boards and who works on their stuff and who doesn't work on their stuff. So I'm still figuring it out, but I've got a ton of friends in Tampa and Naples, and we can get cool cars up here. So we'll definitely do more of that. If there is something specific you want to see, definitely shoot me a note. And please, everyone in the center of the country, stay safe this week. Tonight, gnarly tornadoes ripping through, just really gnarly weather all the way across I-70. And then there's more coming tomorrow and heavy rain Thursday, Friday. So you guys, please, please, please be careful out there. Don't hurt your fun car. Don't take your race car out. Definitely don't take the race car out. Sam Sulek. I don't know Sam Sulek. If I should, I'll look him up, but I don't know Sam Sulek. So yeah, that's about it for tonight. Thank you guys again for hanging out, and don't forget to show someone that you love them. Give them a kiss on the cheek, give them a kiss on the tip of their nose, hold their hand and give it a squeeze. It's really important for them, but it is far more important for you. All right, thanks everyone. I will catch you, if not tomorrow night, then I'll catch you the following. Thanks everyone. Have a great night. Be safe.